take over 2 million blocks of stone, some weighing several tons, and stack them nearly 500 feet into the desert sky. For almost 4,000 years, this structure remained the tallest human-made object on Earth. The sheer effort required to build these structures points to a motive deeper than royal vanity. The Egyptians believed they could use stone and geometry to physically engineer a path to eternal life. To understand why they were so obsessed with the afterlife, we have to look back 10,000 years. Much of North Africa was once a lush, green grassland, but as the climate changed, the rain stopped, the lakes dried up, and rolling dunes consumed the landscape, creating the world's largest hot desert. This shift forced human populations to migrate toward a single geographic lifeline, the Nile River. It provided fresh water and, during seasonal floods, left behind nutrient-rich silt that allowed crops to thrive in the middle of a wasteland. Living in a narrow strip of fertile land surrounded by a deadly desert left no room for error. Survival here required a level of social organization and control that most civilizations wouldn't achieve for thousands of years. Around 3100 BC, a ruler named Narmer unified the rival factions of Upper and Lower Egypt. For the first time, a single government took control of the river's resources and the people's labor. This society was held together by the principle of Ma'at, the absolute pursuit of truth, balance, and order. To the Egyptians, maintaining Ma'at was the only way to prevent their world from collapsing back into chaos. The Egyptians viewed the pharaoh as a living god, the sole bridge between the people and the divine forces of nature. His primary responsibility was to guarantee the order of the cosmos, ensuring the sun rose and the Nile flooded every year. This belief turned millions of independent farmers into a dedicated workforce. They didn't just labor for a king, they labored for a ruler they believed controlled the very survival of their world. The Egyptians believed that while the soul survived death, it required an intact physical body to anchor its existence in the next world. To achieve this, they developed a 70-day preservation process. Priests removed internal organs, dried the tissue with natron salt, and wrapped the body in fine linen to create a vessel that could survive for millennia. Storing these bodies safely required a new kind of architecture. The architect Imhotep stacked 6 stone platforms on top of one another, creating a 200-foot staircase that stood far taller than any previous burial site. This 3D diagram shows the staggering volume required. Building the Great Pyramid meant transporting 2 million blocks without modern cranes. Stacking this massive weight into a perfect point required precise mathematics. Architects used celestial alignments, ensuring the monument wouldn't collapse under its own gravity. The need to inventory millions of stones and track the rations of thousands of laborers led to the development of a complex system of symbols. Writing became an essential tool of government, used to record everything from taxes to the stories of the gods. Egypt's economy and scientific progress were driven by this national obsession with death. The pursuit of immortality provided the motivation to master mathematics, medicine, and engineering. This organization eventually created an empire. During the New Kingdom, rulers like Hatshepsut expanded trade, while Thutmose III led military campaigns that pushed Egypt's borders farther than ever before. Ramses the Great embodied this era of expansion. He ruled for 66 years and filled the kingdom with colossal statues of himself, carved directly into the cliffs to project a sense of eternal power. But the stability of the empire was fragile. When the pharaoh Akhenaten attempted to outlaw the traditional gods and focus worship on a single sun deity, he disrupted the religious order that had held the country together for over 1,000 years. Even when the boy king Tutankhamun restored the old traditions, eventually being buried with a solid gold mask, the social and political unity of the kingdom had begun to fracture. Maintaining huge standing armies, a wealthy priesthood, and endless stone monuments placed a massive financial drain on the state. The central government struggled to pay for the infrastructure that sustained its divine image. By funneling almost all of its resources into preparing for the afterlife, The pharaohs left the living empire completely weakened and vulnerable to the rising powers of the ancient world. Foreign armies eventually moved in. The Assyrians and the Persians soon conquered the territory, ending the era of uninterrupted Egyptian rule. In 332 BC, the Macedonian conqueror Alexander the Great entered Egypt. He was welcomed as a liberator and took the title of pharaoh, continuing the traditions of the divine monarchy for a new era. The line of pharaohs ended with Cleopatra VII. She used strategic alliances with Roman leaders like Mark Antony to try and preserve Egypt's independence, but her defeat at the Battle of Actium sealed the empire's fate. With her death, the physical empire of ancient Egypt was extinguished. Ultimately, it was absorbed as a province of Rome, and the 3,000-year rule of the pharaohs came to an end. The political state vanished, but the cultural project was a success. Their monuments simply outlasted the empires that tried to claim the land. In 1922, Howard Carter discovered the untouched tomb of Tutankhamun, proving that even after 3 millennia, the stories of the pharaohs could still capture the world's attention. We still study the mathematics they used to align their temples and the medical practices they used to treat the living. Their knowledge survived in the stones of the buildings they left behind. The physical kingdoms are gone. But by carving their world into bedrock and building monuments that refuse to fade into the sand, the ancient Egyptians achieved exactly what they set out to do. They successfully engineered immortality.